When you communicate from the heart, from the center and from the body, which, by the way, you can't fake. In other words, if you're trying to sell something that you personally don't feel good about, your voice is going to give you away. The frequency in your voice, the vibration in your voice, which is part of the realm of intuition. So my very first suggestion to anybody in sales is sell something you genuinely care about.
Hi, everybody. This is Jason Mark Campbell. Welcome back to the Selling with Love podcast. The guest that I have today is going to make us explore an aspect that you might not have prioritized in your sales development to know that this is a critical skill that when you tune into might make you more effective at sales than you ever thought possible. Sonia Choquette is joining me as the leader in the field of intuitive training. She is the most highly regarded expert in the field. The woman has published over 27 books, has been published in 37 languages, 40 countries with over 1 million people going through these. And now she has a unique method in melding compassion, humor, and a tell-it-like-it-is-ness. But really what we want to discover today is how are we going to be able to use intuition as a secret weapon, perhaps, to help us improve our sales, connect with our audience, and truly grow the business in the process. It is my great pleasure that I bring Sonia on the show. Sonia, welcome.
It's a pleasure, Jason Mark. I'm excited to be here. And I think this is an important element in successful sales, is to sell with the understanding that we are intuitive, we need our intuition, but our clients are intuitive as well. So we have to tune into that experience of reading them properly because, believe you me, they are reading you too.
So true. And I've had the luxury and privilege of seeing you speak on stage and help people fully understand what is even intuition, because if we don't have the right definition, we can't even know exactly if we have it or how much we've developed it. And so could we start there in defining intuition?
Oh, absolutely. Now, intuition, if you actually take the word itself, it means inner teacher or inner guide. We all are hardwired with 6, maybe even 7 senses at the minimum. Our 5 external senses are not the complete repertoire of our ability to interact with the world. We also have a very conscious heart. We have a very conscious gut that picks up energy in the field. And actually, our entire body is an energetic receiver. It is not just our eyes, ears, sense of taste, smell, touch. So intuition is the ability to perceive the communication that is transcending the physical dimension of interaction, but we feel the vibration, we feel the energy. And this is something all humans do. You know, if you walk into a room, for example, where there's just been an argument, even though everybody's sitting there smiling, you can feel the tension. If you walk into someone's experience where they just got engaged and they're 50 feet away from you, you can feel their joy. I mean, this isn't even like, let's all decide to believe it. This actually is quantum feeling. It's a quantum field acknowledgement in science that we exchange energy and that we are actually communicating quite dynamically, even if not consciously. And the more dynamically you're communicating through reading energy properly, the more your sales customer, for example, is going to trust you, is going to have confidence in your interest in them, which is the basis for all good, consistent sales. It's a service of support to the client rather than I got to meet my own goal.
I think when it comes to sales, majority of us remember the negative sales experiences. And I think when we remember them is typically when you have this encounter with a salesperson that does not necessarily have your best interest in mind. We can kind of feel it, but we actually often I would say we choose to ignore our intuition because we can't necessarily quantify it. And we kind of get into a space where maybe we don't necessarily trust our intuition. Even if the words are coming out of their mouth, they all make sense. And there's a gut feeling, as you mentioned, as a center of intelligence saying something's not right. Is this something we need to train? And if so, are there basic exercises we can do so we can be a bit more trusting of these intuitive pulses so we avoid these negative encounters when someone's coming and you kind of feel like something's off?
Well, let's talk about this from both angles. First, the salesperson. One of the biggest broadcasters of our intentions is not the words we say, but the tone and the energy in our voice. If it's coming from our head or our ego, the truth is the range of our ego voice is unable to truly connect to the experience of another person. The other person actually is being experienced as a thing that we want to control. So if you're on the receiving end of that, you feel the energy coming at you. You feel that's what we call the hard sell or the rah. You feel like this energy is coming at you, trying to overwhelm you versus an energy that's connecting with you. When you communicate from the heart, from the center and from the body, which, by the way, you can't fake. In other words, if you're trying to sell something that you personally don't feel good about or you don't feel is valuable, your voice is going to give you away. The frequency in your voice, the vibration in your voice, which is part of the realm of intuition. So my very first suggestion to anybody in sales is sell something you genuinely care about. That's a big, big point. If you're in the unfortunate condition that you have to sell something you don't care about, find something about it that is worthwhile, because your client won't feel that they can trust you. And what will happen is you might be very persuasive. You might be successful in getting them to buy whatever you're selling with your powers of manipulation and persuasion. But one of two things will often happen. Either they will retain the negative experience and never buy from you again. They may buy it because they don't have good boundaries and they'll return it, or they'll buy it and they'll tell everybody, whatever you do, avoid this person because this person is bad vibes. So we are emotional creatures. Human beings are emotional creatures, and they do not make decisions based on logic. They make decisions based on emotion. And intuition is an emotional intelligence. To be able to communicate and read a person's energy properly, it's going to make you the best salesman possible. But you can't fake it. That's my piece of information that I think is most important.
Sonia, you are speaking to the choir, and this is music to my ears. This is exactly what I speak about as well. I even define selling as an energy exchange between conscious beings, and the missing part of the equation is the emotion in every transaction. And so in my case, I'm advocating for people to sell from a place of love. Mm-hmm. But you've also touched on one aspect, which is actually when somebody has a good product. Like, of course, if you have a bad product, the hesitation, the vibration is going to be lower. You might feel guilty about selling it. But what if the product, everything's okay? The person you're selling to, you know it's going to truly value them and it makes a positive impact. But there's almost like this insecurity within yourself. Like you almost don't trust yourself. You feel like you're nervous. And if you're just nervous for the sake of nervousness, again, the tone might be sounding a little more afraid.
Hesitant.
Is this...
Well, this is a technique. I want to give everybody a tool that will help you, because you're going exactly to what energetically in the body is called the throat chakra and the high heart chakra. Now, this is where our true self communicates. And unfortunately, a great many of us have had that true self choked off. Okay, they have had that true self silenced when you were a child, don't speak up. And this is particular to men more than women, but I'd say just barely. We are also taught you can't be wrong. So that also chokes you down. This fear that if I'm going to say something that's wrong, and wrong in the sense that wrong in that I don't know what's wrong. I'm kind of trying to read the room, if you will, but I'm wrong, meaning I might not say the right thing for that person. All of that just gets this all shut down. So your capacity to communicate gets chopped off, corked. So here's a technique that can work for you really well, and you can try it with me just to tell me how you experience it, the energy, and it works really quickly, especially if you practice this regularly. The first thing I want you to do before you go into sales is I want you to look around the room or the car or wherever you are and notice a couple of physical things, because this pulls you out of your head. We don't communicate well in our head. We have to be here. This is where we connect. After you name them, there's the tree, there's the car, there's my briefcase, there's the office, there's a computer, whatever. Name it out loud. Second thing is you turn your attention from the outer world to your inner experience energetically. And don't get involved in why you're feeling whatever you're feeling. Just notice the what, okay? Tense, stressed, anxious, no problem. Take a slow breath in through the nose. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and exhale, pulling your belly to your spine like you're blowing out candles. Breathe in again. Belly to the spine. Candles. Breathe up through your feet using your imagination into your heart space, like you can breathe through your feet into your heart. And you'll notice your ribs open. Open your jaw until you hear it click and let out a loud sound like this. Ah. Big sigh. And you feel your energy literally centering, and then smile. Then you're ready to go, and can you feel how your whole energy has just relaxed? Open the throat, get back into your body. I call that 2 breaths and a slide, just to make it easy for people.
I love this practice, and what I find fascinating is, even as I'm practicing it here, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see us do this exercise. I literally feel more calm and I'm out of my head. And when I do interviews, it's a little bit of a sales process in the sense that I'm trying to extract the best ideas from my guest. And so I can often find myself in my head thinking about what's the next question, and then I don't get to be present in the conversation. And just by doing this exercise, I feel my anxiety is down, I'm more connected with you, I'm more excited. This is like everything translates into just heightening the quality of the conversation. And when you bring this within a sales interaction, again, I think this opens up a lot of your throat chakra, I believe you referred.
Throat and the high heart.
Throat and
There's
high heart.
High heart, throat, right? This is your sales center, okay? Just think about this. This is what I call the bad neighborhood. This is the sales center.
I love when we bring these practices that are typically held within the spiritual space, but when we apply them to actual scenarios like sales, which is the more, let's say, tangible, materialistic realm, you seem to unlock this superpower to be more effective, and not in a way that's manipulative, but it's almost in a way that's more empathetic, because you're actually communicating and connecting to people's needs. So with this exercise already, I feel like somebody can be more grounded. You can actually be better in showing up in the sales conversations. And I feel like it can also make you a better buyer when we start tapping into intuition, because I mentioned earlier about the bad vibe salespeople.
Right.
We now get to detect it more early, but maybe is there a way that we should be also validating our intuition? Like, can it lead us into a wrong path or make a mistake in the process? Because it doesn't seem like a very black and white tool.
Well, when I teach intuition, I say it's never an exercise of right and wrong. So making a mistake seems like I'll either get it right or get it wrong. What we're doing is we're learning to tune in to what feels accurate and true for me right now. So we're looking at, does this vibration of whatever is being communicated resonate with my authentic need, my authentic interests? Is it, like, we can call it a vibrational match? So as whether you're a salesperson or a buyer, we are humans in service to one another. So if we remember that, instead of thinking spiritual, think spirited. My spirit and your spirit living in our bodies are trying to live our best lives, meeting our needs by the things we require to function in the world. So that sales is an exchange, spirit to spirit, helping each other. So if you frame it that way, then it's not a I need you to take care of me exchange. The second thing you want to know is that trust is established and can actually be elevated if you share a breath. Human beings, when we start breathing in synchronicity, tend to move into authenticity naturally. So even if you're trying to manipulate someone, they start breathing with you, if you're a shyster salesman, you'll stop being a shyster salesman, believe it or not. You'll back off because our bodies require harmony. So the second thing is people yearn for connection, and the way we experience connection quickly is to share a breath. If you're sharing a breath, there's not conflict. We naturally, as human beings, seek resonance, so we can start getting a resonant vibe with someone. So if you're the salesperson or the buyer, whoever takes the lead in the breath, just kind of, the other person will uptake that breath. And then whether you're selling or buying, breathe. Don't hold your breath. That's how you can sense the energetic experience of, is this right or not correct? Is this good or not good for me? I try to avoid right or wrong, because then we get up in our head again. Does this feel good or not good for me? Does this feel true or not true for me? That container, that new bubble of perception will allow you to recognize if something is I call it as a vibrational match. Is it a fit? And if it's a fit, then the choice to go with it is very spontaneous. If you're hesitating as a buyer, I would say recognize your hesitations before you go into a sales meeting. What are my objections? Am I hesitating on the product and the investment? Am I hesitating on the timing? Am I hesitating on this particular company? Because then when you're clear about your hesitations, you don't get confused. You can hear what they're saying. And when someone's selling to you, breathe. Listen and breathe. Listen and breathe. And it's good to do the occasional sigh. Okay, just listen and breathe. And that way you feel the exchange. If you're the salesperson, same advice. Breathe. Don't just keep going. If you're not breathing, you're coming from your ego, and that is experienced as an overwhelm. It's a disconnect, and a person will not trust you. They may not know they don't trust you, but they don't trust you because they're not feeling that you see them. And so you're going to get a lot more objection. You're going to get a lot more suspicion. You're going to get someone saying, well, you're saying all the right things, but I'm not going to go with you. So the key is to listen with your body and listen with your breathing, and don't talk too much. Intuition actually is a listening activity. It is not a talking activity.
And it's amazing what you're sharing, because I can just think of the sales trainings that I've had that have mentioned some of these techniques. Like, for example, the breathing. I can just come back to some of the training tools they would tell us, which is around mirroring. So they would say mirror the body language of your buyer, and they would even subtly say match your breathing patterns and even lead the breathing patterns, but they wouldn't necessarily explain the why, and they wouldn't actually associate an intention. And what I love about what you're teaching here is the fact that these, yes, they work. It's been proven to work, but the intention that we bring to it, I think, is actually what makes the difference between what is known as like a sleazy, slick salesperson who uses the techniques without the good intention versus what happens when you bring that good intention with these techniques into a way that's so powerful.
I will say this. We are natural salespeople because we need one another, and we need to help one another, and we need to communicate with one another and exchange our ideas, our services, our support. So frame sales is a natural, positive experience between human beings, a win-win. And with the spirit in me wanting to connect with the spirit in you, and also not exclude myself, win-win. And let's listen with our whole bodies. Let's intend to recognize that person's genuine need versus you fulfill my need, which is where sales fails. And what is your need? And can I honestly fulfill your need? If I honestly can, I'm going to do my best. That is when sales works.
Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was a fantastic conversation about intuition, which I think is such a key element that gives you that competitive advantage in sales. We talked about how to reconnect with ourselves, and we went through a powerful breathing exercise that you can do, as well as a visualizing exercise where focus on things that you can name to bring yourself to be more grounded. If you have any of that nervous energy that happens before you get into a sales scenario, this exercise is going to be so powerful. I did it right here on the call, allowed me to be more grounded. And I know when you get into a sales interaction, this will take away this panicky mind and make you reconnect with your own body, your own self, and then it'll open up your throat to be able to communicate better. When you care and your intention is clear, you're going to see that every action that you take to increase the way that you communicate with your body, such as matching breathing, leading, as we talked about earlier, this will make you more effective and do it for the right reason. I want to recommend for anybody who wants to move forward with this to pick up a copy of Sonia's book, Trust Your Vibes, which is actually going to allow you to go deep into how you can start trusting your intuition more, because once you are able to do this, it allows you to be so much more effective in the way that you show up, not only in a situation of sales and business growth, but really in every area of your life. Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was such a powerful way of blending the spiritual aspects to the concrete sales aspect to make sure everybody can be more comfortable and more effective when they go selling.
Oh, my love, it was a pleasure.
I am your host, Jason Mark Campbell, and this is the Selling with Love podcast.